All right, let's roll that Delta film and see a little bit about what's going on up in the flatland.
Economically speaking, the Delta is not where it once was years ago. The Delta was once the richest part of the state, and that's the poorest part. We all relied on agriculture forever, and agriculture is what I call a mature industry. It's not really creating any more jobs. And as our economy has fallen here, I think we have just looked for ways to bring in new dollars.
We know that every town is not going to get a Nissan, a Viking Range, a Toyota plant, and so we're looking at other ways to attract not only industry, but retail business, service industries, service-type jobs. All of these communities are working together, and that is the key, I think, to the creative economy here in the Delta.
We know communities, and particularly communities in the Delta where I'm from, have always and traditionally fought amongst themselves over all kinds of things, from industrial prospects to whatever to football games. But when I look at what's happening today, and I look at Clarksdale, Mississippi, Greenwood, Indianola, Cleveland, Greenville, other communities, we're beginning to see the value of working together.
I think we realize that in order to move the Delta forward, we have to sell it as one place. And we're slowly creating these clusters, the Blues Museum in Clarksdale, B.B. King Museum in Indianola, the upcoming Grammy Museum here in Cleveland. And I think we're finally realizing that when you have a cluster situation, people will come here on a Monday and stay to the next Monday.
We've only begun to scratch the surface of the potential of this museum. I think we're in a gold mine situation. And I think not only is it having that short range effect of eating in the restaurants, eventually we're going to entice some people to move to Indianola, buy homes, cars, the whole works.
What we've found with Sunflower County and the B.B. King Museum is that Clarksdale has a museum, Leland has a museum, and it's all focused on the blues. So what we do is try and communicate our program and how we were able to do it and feed off of each other and get ideas so we can grow our own communities around our museums and institutions.
Viking is a hometown grown industry. Fred Carl started Viking and said that if he couldn't do it in Greenwood, he wouldn't do it anywhere else. The Alluvion Hotel began to bring people from all over the world into Greenwood. That's when we realized that we had more there to share than just cotton fields. We had the blues, we had the culinary aspect of the South and the Delta. And so people from all over the world wanted to come, and having a 5-star boutique hotel in the middle of this blues mecca didn't hurt.
When Fred Carl had the idea, many people thought it was just a crazy idea, and why would anybody want to put a hotel like this in downtown Greenwood? It was a very blighted area. And the hotel was really an example of if you build it, they will come. We opened a cooking school, we added a spa, we created a whole experience. Then we sought out other businesses to come and be a part of Howard Street.
The old downtown that had been left to deteriorate was now coming back alive. So with festivals and events that were being held downtown, people felt like they had their town back.
I think here in the Delta we finally realized that we had something going on when these Europeans and others were just coming here without any marketing whatsoever. They were writing about it, and you would see articles on the Mississippi Delta in Japan and in Europe, and those were reaching millions of people. And then all of a sudden we woke up one day and we thought, maybe we do have something here we need to market and move forward. And I think that's when the light bulb went on.
I think finally people are starting to realize that tourists don't come from around the world on a pilgrimage to visit one place for one day. They come to an area and they want to spend time, and maybe 3 days or maybe 3 weeks.
The thing that I think we should do in the Delta particularly is to just look at ourselves and our communities and find out what makes us unique. People are drawn to the authentic, and they're looking for history and they're looking for culture.
There are probably more good stories in Mississippi than any other state in the Union, and we need to be about the business of telling them.
One of the great things about Mississippi, about the Delta, but really the state in total, is that each community has something that's either living or past history of significance to tourists and to outsiders that can help locals to build business and commerce.
It's important for the communities to look around and inventory their own assets. And if you stay with being authentic, telling your story in a real way, people are going to be drawn to that. But Mississippi is an amazing place. We have a wealth of culture. And I just think it's time that we gather it all up, get with it, and show it to the world.
Even communities as small as Rolling Fork, population about 2,000, can develop their economies creatively by finding their stories, like the teddy bear story or the blues story. Muddy Waters, the great blues musician, was born in the Rolling Fork area. So we have a blues trail marker. We have visitors come from all over the country, all over the world, especially foreign visitors, to see the birthplace of Muddy Waters.
What's interesting is when you aren't from here and of here, all of this is just beautiful and amazing and unforgettable. The music here, again, I think locals in many ways took it for granted. They could always go see blues because it always existed. So it's something that's very different and inviting, and it's kind of like an onion. There are all these different layers to it, and you see something, you learn something, you hear something different every time.
We just started from nothing, and we didn't know once we got started, that it was going to work, but we had the goal in mind that whatever it takes to get the job done, that we was going to do it. So that it takes heart. If Joseph Woods, Peter, Sandy, and Arthur can do it, four brothers in a little hick town, I call it like Mount Bayou, I say anyone can do it. But you must put your heart and mind and soul into it, but anyone can do it if we can do it.
All right, Bill Crump, tell us how Greenwood, LaFleur, Carroll counties are not sitting on their assets.
Well, thank you, and I'm glad to be representing the sexy stainless steel of Mississippi. It's a pleasure to be here, and I would not be here if it wasn't for the visionary Fred Carl, who started Viking Range 25 years ago. And with that, a whole new day dawned in Greenwood and LaFleur County. When Fred started Viking, he had just an idea. Didn't ever think it would be a big deal. He was happy building houses, custom home builder, and thought he would do this on the side, and quickly it took off, and Greenwood has never been the same. Fred did say when he started Viking, if he could not do it in Greenwood, he would not do it, and he has been very, very loyal to that community, the people of that community, and hence all of Mississippi through his philanthropy and support of programs all over the state. Not only long before the alluvion, long before downtown renovation, Viking started a revitalization of the people of Greenwood. We have over 1,100 employees, and a large percentage of those employees, when they started, and we have something like a 96% retention rate at Viking Range. We were 25 years old last month. Many of those employees who started in the first years, most of them are still at Viking Range Corporation. And when those employees started, many of them were second and third generation welfare families. Those people now have 401ks, they own their own homes, their children are going to college, they become doctors, lawyers, they're coming back to Mississippi. So long before we started redoing buildings and creating a culinary center in Mississippi, that revitalization was going on with the people of Greenwood. As Viking grew, and we began to reach out and start selling the products all over the world now in over 80 countries around the world. There was a need to bring people in for training, to teach them about a Viking range, how to sell a Viking range, to learn from those dealers what was going on in their stores, what were they hearing from their customers. And so we started a training program, bringing those dealer salespeople into Greenwood to teach them about biking and biking range, and more importantly, to teach them about the culture of biking, the South, Mississippi. About 98% of those people, and we've been doing this training program for over 12 years, about 98% of the people who come have never been to the South. They know that they're coming to a manufacturer of stainless steel ranges. But they are blown away when they get to Mississippi and they see the town, the facilities, but more importantly, they meet the people. Those people who make those ranges that they sell, but also the people that they meet on the street when they're going up back and forth from the training center to the alluvion. When those people come to Greenwood and to Mississippi, they know they're coming for a purpose. What they don't know is that they are going to really get a lesson in culture. And when they leave biking in Mississippi, they not only have seen where those stainless steel ranges are made, but they have met and learned that those stainless steel ranges have a heart. And those are the people of Mississippi who make those ranges. As part of that training program, Greenwood was not, I must say, overly endowed with high-end hotels. So we were having to put our guests, who we were asking to go out and sell $6,000 ranges in a $29.95 motel that still had magic fingers. And those old enough to remember what magic fingers are, hooked up to the bed. Fred felt that we needed to do something better than that. And the Irving Hotel, which was a historic hotel in downtown Greenwood, had been closed for a number of years, was on the endangered building list in the state of Mississippi. He had the idea to turn that into a boutique hotel and the alluvion. We all thought he had lost his mind. To build that kind of hotel in the middle of one of the poorest regions of the country, and definitely the poorest region of Mississippi. Before the hotel opened, we were sitting in the lobby several weeks before the hotel. Everything was ready, and we were having the grand opening and getting ready for that, and we were all sitting around in the hotel lobby, and I can remember somebody saying, "I feel like I'm in New York." And we all agreed that it was most amazing transformation of a building that we had ever seen. And then somebody said, "But just turn around and look out the window and you'll know you're still in Greenwood." Because all the buildings around the alluvion were boarded up. They were empty. You could drive down Howard Street from one end of the street to the other in the parking spaces at any time, day or night. Now, there were a couple of banks, and they were looking at moving out of downtown. Staple Cotton, which was one of the largest cooperatives in the world, whose corporate headquarters are there, had a downtown headquarters, and they had plans already on the drawing board to move their facilities outside of downtown Greenwood. Most of the businesses had moved out. So we went about, after the alluvion turned into a destination, not only for our training groups for the 3 days we used it for those, but people began to come from a 300-mile radius to see this very unique hotel in a very unique place. We realized that we needed to do more. We had to have something for them to do. They just couldn't sit in the lobby all day long. So we began to purchase buildings in downtown Greenwood, renovate those buildings for retail spaces. We had areas above those retail spaces that had been doctors, lawyers' offices in the past. We turned those into downtown living spaces. We now have 17 downtown apartments. I have a waiting list for those apartments. We have a full street of retail, restaurants, shops. One of the first shops that I went out and recruited to come down to downtown was a family that had been in business in downtown for years and years and years, and they had about 10 years ago moved out into one of the strip malls. It was a antique jewelry store, and the lady who owned that store was getting ready to retire, and I went and I begged and I pleaded and I cajoled and did everything I possibly could to get her to move back downtown. She agreed, and she was our first tenant in the new block around the hotel. The first year, at the end of the year, she called me and she said, you know, I had my doubts, but I wanted to do it for y'all. She said, my accountant just told me that I made 3 times as much money this year as I did last year. So that was, both of us just almost broke into tears because we were so excited that it had worked. And from then on, we had other entrepreneurs who moved downtown, and it has been a very, very great success. Since the hotel opened 8 years ago, the tourism tax alone has doubled in downtown Greenwood. The sales tax has increased tremendously. All this hasn't happened just because of Viking. We had partners with the city and the county, and if you don't have a energetic mayor, city council, board of supervisors, well, come to Greenwood and we'll introduce you to some. We have one of the best governmental relationships in Greenwood of any place that I know. We've got a 5-foot mayor that is like a case of dynamite, and if you don't think she can get some things done, just come and see. But those other businesses who were moving out of downtown decided to stay. The banks renovated. One of the oldest bank in Greenwood, who is known for being extremely tight with their funds, spent several $1 million to renovate their building. Staple Cotton spent over $8 million to renovate their building in downtown Greenwood. The city, with our energetic mayor, has now come back, and we have completely repaved all of the streets in downtown Greenwood with brick, all put in period lighting. We had taken a parking lot that was an eyesore and turned it into quite a creative space like Betsy has done with the parking lot next door. So it is a partnership. Fred had the idea and was the spark, but we couldn't have done it without all the other help, including the state, Mississippi Development Authority, who has been a great partner for not only Viking Range and our growth, but also for the city and county of Greenwood and that area. They never say no to us when we go. So it's has been a wonderful experience. Having grown up there, it's wonderful to see the town like I remember it when I was a little boy. Just recently, many of you may have heard of the small movie that was made there, The Help. If we had not had what we had with the hotel, the downtown apartments, and that sort of thing, we probably wouldn't have been able to attract that movie. That movie had a $13 million economic impact on Greenwood alone. That is huge. But what was even, and that movie keeps on giving, with Octavia Spencer winning an Academy Award and other nominees for the Academy Award, we continue to stay in the news. Greenwood has been in the news almost constantly worldwide. I have a clipping file that looks like a Manhattan phone book, and that is advertising you can't buy. When someone like Allison Janney, who was one of the stars in the movie, who said, I had never been to the South, and she's sitting on the View with that group of northern doubters, and she says to them, if you haven't been to the South, if you haven't been to Mississippi, you need to go. That is the most hospitable people in the world. We can't buy that kind of advertising. So we are pleased to have been a small part of what has happened in Greenwood and Leflore County, and look forward to continuing working with economic development in that area. And I can't stress enough that, and being chairman of the Economic Development Foundation, we have, in the last several years, have really changed our focus. We're not, and several people have said that. Chris Ray said that, Robert said that, Bill Latham said that. Every town has assets, and you have to look at what you have and build on those assets. Everybody's not going to get a Nissan, a Toyota, a Viking. We get calls all the time, won't you come to our town? Well, we're not going anywhere. But those towns and cities need to look at the assets that they have and build on those assets, because all of us in Mississippi have great things right there at home, and all you have to do is pull back the covers and look and find them. Thanks so much.
Thanks to all the panelists, Bill, Mayor, Robert, Betsy, Milton. Let me close by saying that we appreciate being a part of this, and it has always been my belief that for all of my lifetime, Mississippi has allowed other people to tell our story. And frankly, they often get it wrong. I think it's high time we become a part of our story, we embrace our story, we get energized behind our story and begin to tell it ourselves. Thank you very much, Scott.